everybody, Julian King here from the Table Talks podcast. Welcome to the Table Talks podcast with Julian King, where we bring student housing, property, business, and leadership to the table. I'm your host, Julian King. Today, we are on episode 7, and again, we've got an exceptional guest brought to you to unpack all things property management, technology, systems. So accommodation providers, this one is for you. Today, we've got none other than Neville, who is from PropertyQuest. Neville, welcome to the table.
Thank you, Julian.
Neville, welcome to the table. Of course, property technology is transforming and the property sector, both nationally and internationally. Yet many accommodation providers to date struggle with spreadsheets, WhatsApp messages, and a lot of manual processes. Today, I really want us to unpack what PropertyQuest is doing in the sector. I've been following you guys, and I'm excited to see how you guys are really transitioning the property space. And today, we just want to explore all things technology and how your company, PropertyQuest, is able to assist property owners build efficient, profitable, and more compliant buildings. So we're going to head straight into it, Neville. And the first question we want to just unpack: what is PropertyQuest and how is PropertyQuest created to solve the technology problem in the sector?
Oh, thanks, Julian. So PropertyQuest is a South African property management platform. I'm going to start with that.
Yeah.
That it's South African.
Yeah.
Because being in our environment, in our country, there's so many dynamics that you always have to understand.
Yeah.
So it's a South African property management platform that is designed for property operators. That's what we refer to. Whether you are in the residential, commercial, or specialized property, like student accommodation is.
Nice.
It's specialized. Not anyone can just dive in. So we've built it to understand operators and then the layers that operators then have to juggle. So there's a financial layer to their operation. There's a maintenance layer to their operation. There's a people layer. So in our context here today, we're talking about students.
Yeah.
So how does an operator handle his students when they come in, when they go out, when they have issues? So the platform handles all of those elements in one central place. So as an operator, you look in one place and you see everything. And then you use that as the basis for your decisions going forward. So
nice.
That's PropertyQuest.
So what makes PropertyQuest different from your normal traditional property management softwares out there?
We're dynamic. So you are not going to get an off-the-shelf system, which is one size fits all.
Yeah.
Some operators have smaller, bed count.
Yeah.
Others are more established, have been in the game, and have a lot more complex elements to their portfolio.
Yeah.
So PropertyQuest is able to then meet the needs of that varying group of operators, small, medium, large, and there are elements that you might not need at the get-go.
Yeah.
But as you scale up, as you get bigger, we can then adapt and add modules to your needs. So it's not static at all. It's really flexible.
Yeah. So are you saying then that the software in itself or the platform in itself caters for both your small, medium, and large accommodation providers?
Absolutely. That's why I started by saying that it's a South African platform.
Nice.
And when you look at our context as South Africa, you have all of those living side by side.
Yeah.
And you also have some operators who will go from a small size number of beds to 3-4 conversations, 4 contracts, and in the space of a year, he's then dealing with different problems because his portfolio is now much bigger.
Yeah.
So whereas PropertyQuest gives you that ability to then say, okay, I'm going to take a leap of faith and I'm going to quadruple the number of beds that I have, and I've got a platform that will enable me to grow my portfolio.
Yeah. Let's filter it down into the student accommodation industry. And I think for many accommodation providers, watching. I meet a lot of accommodation. My core business is in student housing. And I find that a lot of accommodation providers lack the systems and the technology support to make the business profitable or to enjoy the experience.
Yes,
I think
yes.
from your experience, what is the biggest operational challenges that you see student accommodation providers facing today when it comes to the use of technology? Because I think one of the biggest issue that I find is that a lot of accommodation providers are old school, if I might say, and technology is just a no-go zone. So, what are with your engagements with them? What is the operational challenges that you find they're experiencing?
Yeah. So when I sit down with accommodation providers, the an important part of what comes out, what always comes out, is that they've got a passion for students. So they aren't in the game because
They want the money.
they're looking for a fortune and to establish an empire.
Yeah,
There's always an underlying passion for the students.
yeah,
And then because of that, they want to add things to enhance the experience for the student. And it always starts well. It starts with a small, okay, we'll add this, we'll add that, we'll do this, we'll try that. And then it grows. It morphs into, now there's a WhatsApp group, now there's service providers who are
lot
responsible
happens.
for the welfare of the students, which is
yeah.
great. Now there's programs, and it all starts to pull away.
Yeah,
And then that's where the complexity starts to develop, because you've got a university institution, first of all, that
Yeah.
has its requirements
Own
of
requirements.
of an accommodation provider for it to
Yeah.
be accredited.
Yeah,
So that's one layer. Then on the other side, you've got students who come from diverse backgrounds, who, for some, maybe the first time in a big city.
correct.
And so, as an accommodation provider, you also feel the responsibility to take care of this life that you're
Yeah.
entrusted with. So the complexity then starts to develop in that there's all of these things, and this is even before they've sent an invoice to be paid. So
Correct, yeah.
now at risk, taking chances to try and make sure that we take care of these students that are in our care, make sure that their well-being is taken care of, that the environment that they live in is safe, say from a security point of view, from a maintenance, and that's what's in the head
Becomes overwhelming.
of a accommodation provider.
Yeah.
And then now, when they finally submit an invoice, there's a accompanying documentation that must then go with it. And now it's like, where is that? Where did we put it? Who was there?
Yeah.
Is this a student that was with
Allocation,
us last
yes.
year? Did they move from one building to
another.
another? They fail. Then all of a sudden, they fail a year. Now they're going back from repeating a third year, or this or that. And all of those complexities are what the operator has to understand.
Yeah.
So that's where I always have that conversation. I say, okay, tell me about your operation. What do you do? How do you take care of your students? And then we go through the process. Then how do you take care of your staff? Then that's the next questions. Okay, tell me about your team. Well, yes, we've got someone responsible for admin, we've got someone responsible for maintenance, we've got someone responsible for the welfare. Okay, then how do you pull all of those things into one place?
Yeah.
And they'll show me 3 cell phones on the table. This one is for
I'm
this
guilty
one,
of
that
that.
one is for this one, and then this is my personal one for my family. And then so that can only work for a certain size of an operator, but you'll always get to the point where you're just going to burn out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, take me through the PropertyQuest platform, because again, you've now spoken to the accommodation provider. You've picked up on the challenges. We cannot stress enough. I'm an accommodation provider myself.
Yeah.
Administration is one of the big, and if done wrong, it will cost you.
Yes.
If you invoice wrong, you don't get paid. If you don't have lease agreements, you don't get paid. So with that, all the other challenges of managing the student, the residents, the maintenance, how does PropertyQuest bring all this into one platform?
Yeah. Administration is fundamental here. It's one of those things that you have to lock in.
Yeah.
Your document management,
Yeah.
your lease agreements,
Yeah.
your contracts with service providers for maintenance, for security, for cleaning, for whatever.
Yeah.
That is the fundamental part of your business, that it has to work even when you're sleeping. Certain things have to happen. So on PropertyQuest, what we've done is we go through an exercise where we configure, certain workflows, because we take your workflow and we plug it in, and what is repetitive in your operation. So we know that there must be a lease agreement between the landlord and a student. NSFAS has a template for that lease agreement that covers certain fields. If the student is not yet 18, there's a guardian must sign on their behalf.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of logistics that if you're not careful, you can trip over.
Yeah.
At the point when you send an invoice
for
but
payment.
So we go through the exercise where we start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that lease agreement. How do you populate that lease agreement? How do you send it to the student? How does it come back? Then now we've got the lease agreement. What are the payment terms on that lease agreement with NSFAS? Okay, NSFAS, we are invoicing, or even if it's a private student or an international student, because
Yeah,
sometimes
those,
we
yeah.
mustn't be
NSFAS
tunnel
centric.
vision.
Yeah.
But there's an invoice that must go out. Okay, which are the bank account details that are on that invoice every month? So then we work through the layers. We need to know who that student is. What's their cell phone number? What are their contact details? Who's there in case of an emergency? All of these things sit in that administrative layer, document management.
Yeah.
And then with administration is then what is repetitive must continue repeating. And when it starts to get towards the end of a cycle, it needs to warn you. It needs to give you not just, knowledge, head knowledge, but it needs to give you intelligence. Because then now it's telling you that, oh, hang on, we are 3 months away from the end of this lease.
Nice.
So what are we doing? Is this student, or this is a first year student, and we know they're doing a bachelor's degree, so they'll be here for 3 years. So already the conversation is different. The communication with that student is different. They're saying, we hope you've had a great experience with us. We look forward to welcoming you here next year. Little bit of admin, but it's given you intelligence. So that's how we.
So is the system, and we're still talking on the document side of things. Are all these documents then stored on the platform? So if I'm an accommodation provider, I've got 100 students. I need 100 leases, 100 forms to be signed. When I log on to the property portal, am I going to find all my documents in one place? Because I think one of the things that frustrates us, I have a laptop, I have a phone, one document's on the laptop, one document's on the phone, one document was printed and filed. So in this case, you're saying all the documents pertaining to the property management of my accommodation is found on one platform.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we believe in giving a property operator that dashboard. I see you've got a model car here. I love cars. I love all things motoring.
Okay.
And I use this analogy. It's like having an amazing car, but no windscreen. You've got the engine, you've got a plush interior, you're sitting in a comfortable chair, you've got heating, you've got cooling, you've got all of this that you have, but you don't have a windscreen. You can't see. So it then negates everything that you have of the vehicle. And so when we conceptualize PropertyQuest and when we talk about it, and also when we engage on the different workflows, we then say, let's plug everything into one place. So when you log in once, you see everything. When you make an inquiry about what's the status of, and whether it's a maintenance or whether it's a financial, how are we doing? Occupancy. We're in the middle of the year, or in the middle of a semester, we're in the middle of a month.
Yeah.
What's the percentage? That number has to be like you look once and there it is.
Yeah, Neville, I want us to also speak, because on the one side of the spectrum, you have an accommodation provider, developer, real estate agent, right? They are managing one building or two buildings, but then you have as well in the student accommodation property management companies. Now we start managing a portfolio. The student and property management group, we could be managing anywhere from 4 to 6,000 beds, about 28 buildings, right? Um, a lot of data will now need to flow, right? Because this is like 6,000 applications. But this is also about 18 landlords. How does PropertyQuest then assist ensuring that while the property management company has to maintain certain, from the service level agreement, that landlords, the property owners themselves who has entrusted the property management company have access to a dashboard, or is there a dashboard for them to view how many beds are filled now, what is the rental income, etc., etc.
Absolutely. On the platform, we've created a portal
Okay.
for investors.
Yeah.
And this is one of those conversations about signal and noise.
Yeah.
Property investors entrust a managing entity
Correct.
to handle certain operational matters.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they want to see key metrics. They want to see occupancy. They want to see income.
Yeah.
They want to see expenses.
Yeah.
And so we've customized a portal that enables then investors to have a look and see those headers. How are we doing? And then the managing entity then sits with all of the data sets and all of the dashboards that then are now the nitty gritties.
Yeah.
And if an investor is maybe he's raising capital and now he wants to expand the portfolio, but the funders just need a recap on how have you done in terms of your operations from a maintenance point of view. Are you a
Nice.
proactive landlord or do you react? When something is broken, then you fix? Or have you been systematic in knowing that hot water is an issue? You've got 150 beds, hot water. So you are clever about that. You've got a plan, you've got a strategy, and you're implementing it, and you can show it. So SPMG would then pull out the scheduled maintenance program, which is in the platform. The investor includes that as part of his funding application. Say, this is how my team
maintain.
have been doing the
Nice.
work that I've instructed them.
Yeah.
The funder simply says, oh, great, these guys they're on top of their portfolio, they know what they're talking about, and then you unlock the funding opportunity.
And maintenance, Neville, I think is one of the biggest challenges in student accommodation.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many protests erupt from maintenance issues. How is PropertyQuest then dealing with the maintenance side of things from the system that you guys have built? Take me through what a student has an issue in the residences. How is this being reported, and how is that flow from reporting to the matter being attended to and resolved?
Yeah, like I said, we are focused on the student.
Yeah.
In this particular environment, we're focused
Correct.
on the student. So we need to make it as easy as possible
Yeah.
for the student to report a maintenance query.
Yeah.
And so the platform, we have technology integrations
Yeah.
to then find a student where they are and what is the means for them to communicate with SPMG if you are the managing entity or the landlord directly.
Yeah.
And we all have mobile phones, so make it mobile first. So
Nice.
the student is able from their mobile phone through the portal to raise a maintenance query. And we talk about a clever way of doing it. The student is known as your tenant on the platform. The student is known for the room that they're in, the building that they're in, the environment within which they interact. So by means of some prompts, they're able to very quickly navigate and identify themselves. The platform knows their room allocation, knows their floor, what floor they're on, and then, hey, what would you like to report? It's a maintenance issue. This is what I observed, or this is what's happened in my room, or maybe it's even in a shared space.
Yeah,
a kitchen, bathroom, or a study area,
Yeah.
lounge. The TV's not working. The World Cup, we're watching the World Cup. The final is on Sunday.
TV is not working.
TV is not working.
Oh, problem.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
So technology then enables them to report the fault.
Yeah.
And then on the platform, because we've pulled all of a operator's activities into one place, then your maintenance team are then also on the platform. They're notified.
Okay.
But not all maintenance members need to know everything about what needs to happen.
Correct, because there's various electrical, plumbing,
yes, absolutely,
carpentry,
your different skill sets that again you bring into the platform, then are notified. So we know if it's an electrical issue, who needs to be notified. If it's a plumbing issue, who needs to be notified. But also there's got to be a scale in terms of cost, because some things must happen without too many decision makers. If a geyser bursts, it needs to be fixed. It's one of those things.
Priorities.
But other things, okay, we'll go out, we'll look at it. It's, it can be fixed in 24 hours, in 48 hours, a week.
Yeah.
It's fine. So then the platform will send that ticket through, let those who need to action that understand who's reported it, and then there's communication back to the student. Your ticket was opened. We acknowledge.
Nice.
We acknowledge it. It's in process. And also at the end, once the work is done, the cupboard has been fixed. There's a question: how was your experience of that? Was the how did you engage with our service provider or team member? How did you feel? And again, we're going back to the student must always feel like they are taken care of.
Now, one of the things I like is that it seems like the platform is very student-centric. It's all about making the student experience more worthwhile, and I think we appreciate this. But Neville, here's the big thing. Accommodation providers across the country. I was in Cape Town the other day, and the last week I was in Johannesburg, and one of the key factors that when I speak to landlords is the issue of occupancy. Landlords wanting to know, I've got 1,000 beds, how many students are in here, how many are paid, how many are not paid, how many empty beds. Take me through, is PropertyQuest able to resolve this issue, to give me real-time occupancy statistics when I need it?
Absolutely. Fundamental to an operator is you've got to know how many people in your establishment. You have to know at all times. So when we are taking through your students through the process, onboarding them, and the continual invoicing and payment tracking, see, we've got multiple touch points that we use to verify that occupancy.
Yeah.
So it's not about a good old-fashioned attendance register at the door that are because you signed your name and your signature that we know you're here. There are multiple touch points. So is there a valid lease with the student? Yes, there is. Do we have the ID documentations there? Because otherwise, what is the basis of your relationship with that student? So these multiple touch points then enable us to say, okay, we've got their contact details, we've got their email address, we've got next of kin, we have the contract between us as the accommodation provider and NSFAS, and in some cases with the universities as well. Institutions will have their own lease agreement or some sort of undertaking for the relationship. And all of those touch points, and in some instances, you can add, depending on how dynamic you are as a landlord, a biometric layer to that, for identification. And then now you've got all of these touch points that confirm that, yes, indeed, this student is our student with a lease, we are getting paid, or NSFAS acknowledges that they will pay us for housing this student. And when the dashboard then indicates that we are sitting at 90% occupancy, it's 90%. If it says
done the checks and balances,
all of those touch points, those fields are filled, And so if it says 50%, it's 50%. And what that also enables is that it creates a mechanism to stop flooding coming in through the side, where you end up with, no, don't worry, we'll sort it out.
Later.
Don't worry, it's okay. We'll make a plan. But how have you bypassed the process? Where are all of these documents? Who gave the permission for this to happen? And in some cases, we understand. Yes, it's circumstances are there's an emergency, there's a crisis. Student accommodation operator will say, "I've got beds. I'm willing to step in and assist." All well and good, but then there is a record trail to then say it was the middle of the year, there was an emergency at another accommodation provider.
Wow, nice.
We've taken them in. Okay, these beds were then occupied, these 30, 40, 50 beds, after they didn't follow our normal process, but they're accounted for.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing about that occupancy number. Rather have a low occupancy and have certainty than have a high volume of beds occupied, but
you're not sure.
You are not sure.
Yeah.
And then you're open to surprises.
Yeah. A lot of surprise. Let's talk about finance, Neville, because again, on the one hand, it's important that we keep occupancy as high as possible. On the other hand, it's also us ensuring that with whatever students have been placed in the property, that we actually get paid. And one of the issues that I think accommodation providers is keeping track of who has been paid, not paid, those that have not been paid, what's the reason. Is the platform designed, for example, to track rent collection, who's owing, financial performance of that particular resident, etc.?
Again, absolutely. These are the fundamentals of property management. We talk about the administration side, we talk about maintenance, and ultimately you need to be paid. And so because we have a record of every lease agreement, every student under our care, and every invoice that goes out, the platform also has the ability to capture and track payments.
Okay.
So you know that you have been paid. Different operators have got different needs. Again, I go back to like what I said in the beginning, that this is South Africa, and there's a diversity of needs. And on the one side, we have operators who run fully integrated, fully automated property management entities, where even their transactions happen and are captured in real time. Nice. So in an invoice is paid, there's a reference attached to a student, to a lease, to an institution that arrives in the bank account automatically using some third-party integration to that bank account. We can verify that transaction,
the student has been paid or not been paid.
That transaction has been completed, that student is paid, is up to date, or the student now is in arrears. And then now how long? Or we know 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Nice. We're able to then see that there's a pattern here. What's happening? Is it a payment issue from whether it's NSFAS or it's an international student or a privately funded student, or has there been an error from our side in inaccurately capturing bank account details or whatever? Correct, then you're able to then see it in real time. So finance is a big part of
and then of course Neville is the big one. A number of accommodation providers seem out of touch with students. And you see it again at protests. We can't get the landlord, landlord saying, no, I don't know who the students are. And what PropertyQuest seems to be doing is to bring all of this into one platform, and I'm able to view it in real time. But tell me, students and accommodation, are we able to, I know you've captured, we can go on and view the leases and the different data that's required. A student can, log a maintenance request and get it resolved. But is the platform allowing the landlord or the property manager to engage the student? Or is this done off the record? We come onto the property platform just to deal with, the lease, invoicing, payments, etc., etc.
Communication is just as important. We talk the administration, we talk the maintenance, we talk the finance, and then the fourth piece of it is the communication.
Yeah.
You have to be able to communicate between the operator, whether it's the landlord himself or themselves, or a managing entity, and the students. And students now as well are a lot more organized.
Yeah.
So you have to understand whether you are communicating with the students themselves or there is an entity that sits in between that has a collective voice. But regardless of who that is, the platform also then has room for that. And it's an important part of, and I think where technology, we talk about in the technology space, we tend to lose touch with that people side of it.
Yeah.
So all well and good that certain things are automated, there's a process happening in the back that nobody sees, but it's important that people have an outlet to express. And also, what if the students are so happy? They are thrilled. This is the best thing that could have happened to them, is to arrive at your accommodation and to be taken care of so well. And
Nice.
their needs are. So that's what communication is, because often we think of communication as like, if we create too much of a platform here, what
Create
comes
issues
back
for us.
will be no, not at all.
Yeah.
But it's that you ask at any moment, can you speak to someone that is managing, running, or in authority in the place where you live?
Yeah.
And a student has to categorically say, yes, I can. Let me show you how. And from smartphone, from a tablet, a laptop, 3, 4, 5 prompts, and there's engagement.
Yeah.
So,
So tell me
yes.
what because I hear that, when you put a maintenance, it notifies the maintenance. Is this done via email? Do I get an SMS, a WhatsApp? How does this communication channel flow? Is it different platforms?
PropertyQuest is a platform, and I
Okay.
have to walk it back a little bit. We're a platform,
Yeah.
and we are not just an application, because an application is good at doing one thing, but a platform plugs different applications together to then give you. We all have laptops,
Yeah.
and or PC computers. On there, you have different applications. One is for sending emails, one is for creating
nice.
documents. Or I'm just using this as an example.
Yeah.
You have one that will create presentations. So you have, and then one that will do the numbers, the crunching of numbers for you. Those are applications, but they exist within a platform.
Yeah.
And PropertyQuest is exactly the same. So if a operator has a team who are mobile, so SMSs, WhatsApp. So then we know that for your team, for your management team or your operations team, that's where your notifications need to be pushed to. But there will always be a track record, a paper trail via email. So everyone in your organization has an email address. That's the first port of call. There's a document to your email. But your maintenance crews, they are out there in the field,
yeah.
more often than not, got no time to be checking emails. And so
Get a WhatsApp.
there's a WhatsApp. There's an SMS if you prefer, if you're old school in that way, and it must be an SMS, not a problem. We plug you into that application that enables you to get that.
Yeah.
So,
Now, I want us to talk the compliance of student accommodation. I'm very big on compliance. There's a minimum norms and standards policy document for student housing that takes us through A to Z on how to comply. And in us complying, there's a lot of documentation needed, supporting documentation before a accommodation provider is given accreditation to house students. Is the platform designed now to perhaps have a checklist of those documents that are required, and for a landlord to be able to say, because I think, with scattered documents all over, the time you really need these documents most is when it lets you down. is PropertyQuest able then, from a compliance point of view, to say, no, for you to comply as an accommodation provider, these are the set documents, these are the set processes, and can this be built, if it hasn't yet been built, into PropertyQuest?
Yes. Simple answer, yes. Because PropertyQuest is a property management platform,
Yeah.
one of the things that you have to understand as a property practitioner is that there is an inspection
Yeah.
that must happen at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. So
Correct.
using that basis, what we then did was to understand the needs of the different operators. And you talk about compliance. Compliance is a huge factor
Yeah.
in all property.
Yeah.
But specifically dealing with student accommodation operators, there are things that have to be as part of your administration. When an inspector arrives, you have to press 3 buttons to give you access to all of that documentation. And also, you need to be honest, able to say, we've got 90% of these documents, but this is outstanding. And okay, give me the evidence, and then here it is.
Yeah.
So there's a module within PropertyQuest that enables you to do your own, self-assessment of, okay, do we have this? Do we have that? Do we need this? Do we need that? Yes. And are we compliant in terms of, if we position ourselves as a premium product, then we have this in place, or we are an emerging operator. We've just started and we're looking at our journey over the next 3 years. This is what we need to get. So the platform does also give that functionality for student accommodation providers to file their documents, schedule their maintenance, their inspections, health and safety, in the event.
Does the system allow us, and I want to talk upload, download?
Yes.
Do I have to send you my documents to upload, or can I literally go onto the platform now and where it says health and safety certificate, can I upload it? And when I need it, do I just log on and download it for the inspector, or how does that work?
The purpose of the platform is that, Mr. King, as the operator, you must have access to everything.
Nice.
When you log in, whether you're an administrator or you are delegated certain functions and an authority on the platform, in your capacity, you need to be given all of the tools that you need to conduct your job, your core function. So yes, as the operator, accommodation provider, you log in and all of your documentation is there. If you need to update, because we've moved from a previous year to a new year, updated maintenance plan, or we've just conducted, the elevators have been serviced, and here's the certificate that, competency certificate to show that they are working. We update it. You are in that section. You upload.
Nice.
There it is on file. And some things are linked to certain permissions, because
I was about to go there.
As an operator, some of the information is your IP. In essence, it's your intellectual property. It's what gives you the edge over the other operator down the road. So certain documentation sits behind your authority level. Other things, team members run with it.
Okay. So when, for example, my administrator logs in, I can restrict him or her from viewing financial details, and vice versa, my finance not being able to go and upload or download a lease. So each staff member would be able to be given different access. But of course, as the custodian of the management company or the property, or I would have all access to the debt. That's exceptional.
Absolutely.
That's exceptional.
Absolutely. And also what you need in certain instances is for the ability to download. So some members in your team would need to be able to download in the event the inspectors arrived and we are printing. Okay, now we need to print. Okay, go in, download only, print, and then here's the file, Mr. Inspector. finance might need to also, as an attachment to an outstanding invoice that's being queried, go in, download. But other staff members are the ones that are given the authority or the rights to upload certain things. So you then are able to manage from a security point of view. You then now know that these individuals are the ones responsible for the generation of the lease agreements.
Yeah.
Make sure all of the documents that support it are there. Yes, upload. And that's where it ends.
I want to talk to you, Neville, about, of course, those accommodation providers that are old school. The platform sounds great. It seems to be doing everything. But here is a landlord saying, Neville, I'm a paper girl. I'm a paper boy. I have files and files. And now you're saying I must store everything on this platform. I want us to talk about security. How safe is this platform? And does this platform, is it my data stored? Can I have it for the next 5 years? Or is the data integrity going to be compromised? Because now, if this platform collapses, it's the end of me.
Yeah. Security is a big deal for all of us. But we have to look at where we are in this digital age.
Yeah.
50 years ago, the thought that we would be able to have this conversation and speak to thousands of people was just unheard of.
Yeah.
You were on television, and that was the only way that you could reach a large audience. Either in person or television, radio, like limited, ways of communication.
Correct.
But technology is advanced.
Correct.
And so now we're in the age where our information sits in the cloud. It's digital. And with that, as PropertyQuest, what we've done is we have secure data centers that we run our platform on, where your information is not only stored in one place. So there's multiple backups of your data. There's redundancies built into the system. Nice. There's authentication of a user, because you don't know everyone in your organization.
Yeah.
But there's authentication of that user who's accessing. There's a timestamp. So every time someone logs onto the platform, we know
that never logged in at 10 o'clock.
We know who they are. Do they have permissions to access the platform? Yes, they do. What is it? Where are they allowed to play in? What are the parameters? Oh, yes, they are. That's where they are. Great. And if there's anything that happens outside of that, then there's on the security side, we are then alerted about that. We then now know that there's a potential risk here, because or it might happen, Mr. King, that you travel, you go on summer holiday, you are enjoying, cocktails on the beach, and then you decide to log in remotely, and now you are accessing from an IP address that is outside of what we know you're operating. You're in Joburg, Cape Town, Pretoria, Nelspruit, Bloemfontein. Okay, we know where you are. But now you are in the Maldives.
What's happening here?
What's happening here?
Okay.
And because we are the people behind the platform, then we can then engage and then say, no, wait, hang on. There's been suspicious activity. Is this really you? No, don't worry, Neville, it's me.
I'm on holiday, man.
Hey,
Come
man,
on.
life is good. Life is good. You should be here. I wish you were here, but thanks for the phone call.
Nice.
That's the extent of the data security that we then go to ensure that when that data comes onto our platform, it's secure.
Nice.
And not just accessible to anyone.
Let's talk about the future of digital property management in South Africa. What is the next 5 years looking like? And I want to know your views on what do you believe student accommodation providers should be preparing for today to make sure that they benefit from technology in tomorrow?
I think you've got to look at who are student accommodation providers servicing.
Yeah.
That's where you've got to start. It's a young demographic. We're looking at the ages from, call it 17 to 25. That's the cohort that you're speaking to. So
Yeah.
if as an accommodation provider, you aren't speaking their language, you're going nowhere quickly. Really, ultimately, if as an accommodation provider, your operation is paper-based, it's manual, it's laborious, it's heavy for you as the operator, you might get away with it for a season, but there'll come a point where students move, they vote with their feet. That they want quick, they want easy.
Yeah.
And also, just to bring in the NASFAS side of it, we talk about them being the student finance
Yeah.
scheme.
National Student Financial Aid
Yes,
Scheme.
but
Yeah.
they're going through a whole lot of processes
Themselves. Yeah.
And student accommodation providers are sitting on the sideline, not sure which way this will go. And when I speak to some of them, I often say, you know what, but you have the operation, the brick and mortar, the beds are under your control.
Correct.
So what is it that you are doing proactively about your operation? Yes, we understand that the NASFAS is a big part of the viability of our operations, but you are primarily responsible for your entity. So line up your entity so that whichever way things go, you are ready for the next step. You are ready for the future. You are dynamic. You are responsive and not just, okay, we'll wait for the following year, then maybe we'll hear something. Because some of these processes take a long time to, but in the meantime, your expenses are happening every month. Students are not getting heard. Their issues are they feel like they're just being swept under the carpet. So you, as an operator, you develop a bad rap. It's just like,
it's not for me.
What's the point?
Yeah.
But that's where then the future is to close the gap between the students and the operator. And because in that value chain, there's a lot of different layers in between.
Yeah.
So what does the future bring? It means closing the gap. From a financial point of view, when you're paid, it's on the dashboard. It's on the dashboard. It's captured. Or if NASFAS or a funder, international guarantor comes and says, "Look, these are our students. We've got them, but we'll pay every 3 months." You're secure. Your students that are under your care are also secure. They're not panicking.
Yeah.
Do we know? Are we up to date?
Are we going to be evicted?
Do we know? Not at all.
And,
and so all of those things are about bridging that gap, closing the gap. That's the future.
Yeah.
And not only, if I can go a little bit further, not only for just individual student accommodation operators, but it's the same for when we look at our national policy framework.
Correct.
And I know here you're passionate about that, and that's you. But we need to close that gap between a funding entity, between the institutions of higher learning, the students themselves, and also just the broader society. We were having a conversation about the attitude that certain communities feel towards student accommodation.
Yeah.
They feel that it comes and it's disruptive, it's this, it's that. The reality is, it's like that because it's not organized. It's like that because it's not structured. It's like that because the poor operator is barely able to keep his beds inside the building, occupied and keep his students happy. Now, when you bring issues that are on the edges, on the sides, there was a car that arrived past midnight and they were making noise and there was this and there was that, your operator would just simply say, you know what, that's outside of my control. But when it's a well-run entity and that gap between the operator and the students is closed, the operator is able to say some house rules. This is how we operate here. There's quiet hours, and purely for your well-being as a student, but also just to understand the community that we were a part of. And then there's other times where we need to, cut loose a little bit. It's the end of exams, it's the weekend, it's a holiday, it's life. Wow, it's a celebration. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And if a complaint is raised or an issue comes up, then there's a mechanism for that to be addressed. Community, then investment is coming into our area, property values are going up.
Nice insight.
But you see how it's about that bridging the gap. Because right now, one entity is over there, another entity is over there, other one is there. And we're not
if you were appointed the Minister of Higher Education today, what is one thing that you would change from a technology point of view in student accommodation today?
Good question. I would go down the path of standardization of certain things. And
Nice.
I mentioned I'm a motoring, fan. I love all things automotive. And I was reading a case study about a motorbike. I won't tell you who manufactured it or the story about it, but it's by volume and by duration, the highest number of this particular model sold all over the world. And when you look at the motorbike, it's nothing amazing. It's not a super bike. It's not something super powerful or amazing. It's a very simple motorbike. But for 20, 30 years now, it's just been the highest selling. And what sits behind that is standardization. There are components that make up that engine, that make up, the brakes, the transmission, the seats, the safety features that are standard. And that would be really my approach to it, is that technology mustn't be a top-down where government and NSFAS, because NSFAS is the funder, is then now enforcing or lumping it, but rather when it comes from the accommodation providers themselves, that then say, I'm an accommodation provider and I have a minimum set of tools that when I offer these beds to these students, I can guarantee that with these, it doesn't have to be a comprehensive suite of tools, but with these
the
basic tools here, I can put my hand on my heart and I can guarantee that these students will be safe. These students will be given an environment that enables them to do what they have come to do, which is to pursue their tertiary education, get their qualification, have a skill, contribute to society. So that really would be, if I stepped into those very big shoes, to say, turn it over.
Standardization is key.
Standardize just a minimum set of your own tools. And then we build from there.
If there was one person that offered you an opportunity to have dinner with him, to conversate around the table, who would that be and why?
Wow. Good questions. Who would I want to sit around the table and have? I'll be a bit controversial with this one, but we're here anyway. But I would absolutely love to have a conversation with Donald Trump. So much is said about him, but you never know what's fact and what's fiction.
So the media,
I would absolutely love to have that conversation and to hear firsthand, to understand the reason behind some of the things that he's done, his decisions that he's made, the places that he's chosen to, the direction that he's chosen to lead. And we see maybe the result from a distance, but I'd be very interested to have a look on the inside. So I would say Donald Trump.
Yeah, no, thanks. Neville, thank you very much for joining us at the table. And to everyone watching and listening, thank you very much for joining us on this week's episode of Table Talks with Julian King. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to our channel where we share all things student housing, property leadership and management. Until next time, keep learning, keep leading, and keep building the